I was listening to the Diary of a CEO podcast a few months ago, where Stephen Bartlett, who is the host, was interviewing a woman named Emma Greed. She's an entrepreneur and a businesswoman and a founder and co-founder of a couple of businesses, one of which I think is Skims and the other one is called Good American. Basically, the episode was my first exposure to her and the first time I've ever heard her do an interview. And I have to say, out of all the episodes I've seen, something about this one just rubbed me the wrong way. It was the way in which she was describing business and success through this lens of, oh, just work hard and buckle down and you too can achieve success, which I don't fully agree with. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I think working hard in itself doesn't guarantee success or a seat at the table. And there are other ingredients in the mix of success that go unnoticed and untalked about that I think play a major role in addition to working hard. So just working hard in itself is not going to get you to the goal. It's not going to get you all the things that you really want. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to jump in. But before we do that, make sure you have your reflections worksheet so that you can capture any thoughts or any takeaways from this episode. And if you don't have it yet, you can click on the link in the description to grab your copy. Okay, full disclosure, I didn't listen to the full 2 hours of this interview, but I heard the majority of the interview. And in summary, Emma was talking about how a lot of hard work and planning was her blueprint to success. She mentioned being focused. She talked about discipline on her goals and her ability to drown out the noise just to get to a certain level of success. So this made sense to me because when I think about noise, that could be internal mind chatter, that itty bitty shitty committee, as Jennifer Grace would say. It's the noise that you tell yourself. It's those things that hold you back, but it's also the noise of other people, like the naysayers or the people who don't maybe have those dreams, or they think that what you're trying to achieve is unachievable or it's not able to be accomplished because they haven't seen anybody in their circle doing those things. She also talked about grit, which some of us have and some of us don't, and how that's a component of success. And I get that. But here's the thing. Emma was saying these things and it was agitating me, but she is just the person that's communicating these characteristics. But my beef is the story that many of these successful people tell us. They come from nothing, right? They create this life for themselves that is beyond anything that they've seen growing up or beyond anything that any of us have accomplished. It's a rags to riches story. And it's motivating, it's inspiring, and I get that. It's great. And these ingredients are all a part of the whole. But what people don't talk about is all the other components that play a role in whether or not we achieve success and whether or not we reach our goals. And that's the part I want to talk about today. Because what she described is that internal piece. It's the parts that we can control, the mentality, the willingness to focus, the tenacity, all that is good. But that's only part of what's needed. What we don't talk about and what I didn't hear and what I rarely ever hear anyone talking about is all the external factors and all the situations that you need to be in alignment to coincide with you achieving those goals. It's the unwritten rules. It's the game that we have to play, especially in corporate and in a business environment for a business that you don't own. Like you're trying to be recognized and you're trying to get ahead and you're playing the game, or you think you're playing the game, the corporate game, the systemic game. But nobody talks about what comes with playing the game. We're acting like everybody is on the same playing field with the same resources and the same starting point. And we know this is not the case. We're all starting at different points. And I'll just give you an example of this. My grandmother, my grandma Queen, who is my maternal grandmother, she is one of the hardest or was one of the hardest working women I've ever known. She worked 3 jobs most of the time, minimum 2, but most of the time she had 3. My grandmother grew up in the South. She didn't have a lot of education. She was already starting off at a deficit, right? But she had grit. She knew how to work hard. She knew how to do the things that she needed to do to get ahead. She had a lot of those characteristics that someone, that would be successful would have, what Emma was talking about, the focus, the perseverance, and just a willingness to get things done. She had all that. But she didn't get far career-wise because of other factors. She didn't have the knowledge, or I would say like the wherewithal for that higher potential or for her highest potential. And I'm not even sure if she had dreams or plans for her life that were beyond like basic survival. Because, my grandmother grew up in a time when there was racism, there was segregation, there was inequality, and she was a Black woman in America. So we already know the history of that. But I'm not sure she thought about, is this all I can do or is there more? Maybe her mentality was, this is what I can do or this is what I can become. But honestly, I feel like she was just trying to survive and take care of her family. So grit, yeah, she had that. Working hard, yeah, she had that. But that isn't all that you have to do, because my grandmother only got to a certain point. And I don't know, maybe it's because she didn't know there was anything else beyond that. That's just an example of what I'm talking about. I know a lot of people in my life who've worked hard their whole life, but that in itself does not guarantee you success. So let's talk about some of the other things outside of working hard and outside of buckling down and focusing that may influence what you're going through. So the first thing I want to talk about is the circle of influence, or your circle of influence. Who are the 5 people in your immediate circle? What are these people doing? How do they show up in your lives? How do they show up in their lives? What impact do they have on your life? And are they doing things that inspire you? Are there some people that are a few steps ahead of you that you can learn from and lean on, get guidance from? Are there people that you can inspire and guide? It's really looking at that immediate circle of people that you have around you and assessing, what are they doing? Are they on the trajectory that you want to be on? Are they helping you and inspiring you? Are you helping those other people? You should be in the middle of that circle. You should have people who are a few steps ahead of you, and you should have people who are a few steps behind you. So that way it's like you're pulling people up and helping them, and those people above you are pulling you up and helping you. So that matters. I don't believe that you can reach beyond what you can see. So unless you have a spectacular imagination, which most of us, we don't have that. Most of us can't believe what we don't see. So if you don't have a good circle of people around you, you don't have people around you that are doing things or at least motivated to do more or talking about doing more or moving in the direction of doing more or achieving higher levels of success, it's going to be really hard for you to stay focused in getting to the next level. It's your environment. It's what I talked about in the 3 E's of possibilities episodes. I believe that was episode 30. I'll link it in the description. But it's talking about the environment, like who you surround yourself with matters, which leads to my next point, a proximity. How close are you to the people doing the things that you want to do? I'm talking about physically and also relationally, because this influences your ability to achieve your goals and to get things done. It's like, what types of resources do you have access to? I'm talking about relationships. I'm talking about networks. I'm talking about value systems. I'm talking about ideas, innovation. What are you exposed to and who do you have access to? Do you have access to people who have knowledge or who can connect you to those people who do? Because all of these things are factors and they impact proximity. Proximity is strategically just placing yourself in the right place, the right environment with the right people who share the behaviors, the habits, the energy, everything that you need to level up and to move forward. So if you don't have proximity to the things that you want, to the people that know what to do or how to get there, then what is your blueprint? Like, what are you planning around? What is your strategy? It's hard to really consider what to do if you don't have proximity to the things that you want or to the people that know how to get there. That's one thing to consider. Opportunity. Let's talk about it. Do you have the ability to do something outside of your scope? Is there something that you are offered to try? Are you open to new opportunities? Are you open to new things? Are people willing to bet on you? Are you willing to bet on yourself? One of the things that Emma was talking about was excellence and how being excellent in your role gets you promoted to the next level and excellence is rewarded. And here's the thing about that. I say yes and no. Excellence is not a foolproof plan either. Excellence doesn't guarantee that you're going to move up. Excellence doesn't guarantee that you're going to get promoted. Excellence doesn't guarantee a lot of things. Obviously, I'm all about excellence. I do believe in excellence. I strive for excellence more so than perfection, because I do feel like no matter what you're doing, you should be doing it to the best of your ability. But I've seen some not so excellent people get moved to positions and promoted to places that they weren't qualified for or that they weren't a good fit for. I've also seen excellent people denied access. So we see this all the time. For example, take the music industry. There are lots of excellent singers, people who can sing, okay? Like they can sing, not sing, but sing. They don't get record deals. And there are plenty of mediocre ones who do. And those mediocre ones win awards on top of that. Being excellent in itself does not guarantee that you're going to get to a certain level. People have to like you. They have to want to give you opportunities to rise to that level of success. There are gatekeepers in certain spaces. And so, yes, part of you getting to where you want to be, especially in those environments, is pleasing the gatekeepers or figuring out like who those people are. And sometimes even knowing who they are doesn't guarantee that they're going to let you into those rooms. So you can do every single thing right. You can have tenacity. You can raise your hand for everything. You can volunteer to do the things. You can stay late at your job. You can do all the things. You can do everything within your power and still not get promoted. But nobody wants to talk about that. So I'm going to share this. In the more than 20 plus years that I worked as a corporate consultant and a project manager, never once did I get promoted. The only way that I was able to move up, to get more responsibility, to get different roles, higher levels of, I would say, responsibility and experience was because I left and went to a different job. I just left the job and went to a different one. That's how I moved up. That's how I made more money. That's how I increased my skills. But it was never in one place where I got promoted. I wasn't promoted to the next level. And it was frustrating to me. It wasn't because I didn't work hard. It wasn't because I didn't know how to do my job. I always got praise and great reviews from leaders and managers. It wasn't because I didn't have education. It wasn't because I didn't have skills. So all the things that they told me to do, I did. Go get this certification. Okay, I got that. Oh, you need more experience. Okay, I got that. I did all the things, but the target kept moving. It was because somebody somewhere for some reason decided that I wasn't worthy enough for that promotion or I wasn't qualified enough or whatever this decision was. I honestly don't know what the criteria was for not getting it, but what I do know is there was always an excuse or some sort of moving target that I could never reach. And eventually, I just got tired of it and I created my own space for myself, but that took a really long time. And, I'm skipping steps because it took me some time to get there. And this was never a plan of having my own business or having my own practice or starting anything on my own. This came out of desperation. It also came out of opportunity. It came out of me trying to create a separate space so that I could stop being miserable and going through the same motions because I would just get a new job and it would be good for a while, but then I would be back in the same rut, the same space of unfulfillment or trying to figure out, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this the place where I'm supposed to be? And so I think the point is that the moving target is real. And a lot of times we don't talk about that. Sometimes people just don't like you. Sometimes people just don't want you in the position. Sometimes it's just not for you. They already have a person that they have it slated for. It doesn't necessarily mean they're more qualified than you. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're better for the role. Sometimes it is, but many times it's just that there are people in rooms making decisions about you that you don't even know about. They're talking about things that have absolutely nothing to do with work, with how you do your job. It's a game of like, oh, we like this person. We're going to give this person an opportunity. That's pretty much what's going on. There are rooms that people control that you're not a part of, that you're not in. So working hard in itself, again, doesn't guarantee anything for you. It doesn't mean you're going to get to the goal. It doesn't mean you're going to get the promotion. It doesn't mean you're going to get the job. It just doesn't. And all of this is part of the game that I talked about in the beginning. It's knowing how to play the game. And the people who want to play and the people who play well, yeah, they end up getting further along in that environment. But if you peep the game and you don't like the game and you don't want to play the game, that gives you a whole different outcome. So a lot of these millionaires and these big time entrepreneurs and the people who are talking about the rags to riches and how they came from nothing to something, they had the right exposure and maybe the right opportunities to talk about things. And a lot of times they speak about their success as though we're all starting at the same point. That is not true. We don't have the same resources and we are not. And let's just talk about this. Nepotism is real. Okay, I just have to say it because people don't want to acknowledge that. And that's just what's going on in the world. Like it's creating opportunities for people that you know, people in your family or people that you're related to. I mean, hello, do you think Blue Ivy would be on tour dancing on stages with her mother if her mother were not Beyonce? Probably not. But I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. I think you get my point. I'm just trying to say that there are outside factors influencing working hard, being excellent, all those things. You can still do all those things and not get to where you really want to go or not move up in your career. Okay. So That is something that we really need to talk about and just pay attention to. There are also a couple of other things that I think play a role in success. So one of them is education. So I talked about, my grandmother not really having a lot of education. Education is important. And I'm not just talking about books and degrees and certifications, but I'm talking about all the things that you can do to educate yourself. I'm talking about learning your industry. I'm talking about reading up on things. I'm talking about using every situation, every job, every resource, every learning environment or every environment as a learning space, even if you don't like it. So even if you're going into a job every day, and even if you are dealing with people you don't like, and even if you're like trying to figure out where do I go, what do I do, take the good from each situation. What can you learn from each situation? What can you learn from your boss? What can you learn from your coworker? Is there a book that somebody's talking about that's really impacting their life? Is there something that you can do experientially to help you move ahead or to help you get to a different situation or a different position? These are all things you can do. And they don't have to be related to your current job or your current position. It could just be something that you're interested in. So pull out the strings of that. Pull out the strings of things that you find interesting, things that you want to learn more about, because education is the key to get you to where you want to be. You want to make sure that you're mastering or you're trying to be excellent in whatever it is that you're doing. Because no matter what you do, you have to practice. The way that you get better, the way that you get good is by practicing. So education and educating yourself, that is an important component of moving ahead. The other thing is knowing more exists. This is super important because if you don't know that there is more, if you don't believe that there is more, how can you really go after it? You can't go after it. So you have to know that more exists. And this goes back to my point of proximity an opportunity. Sometimes we don't go after things because we don't even know that it's a possibility. Sometimes we don't take advantage of opportunities because we don't even know that it exists. We need to start creating opportunities by asking questions, being curious, asking, how can I be better at this? Or being inquisitive about another person's role or just something that, again, you may want to learn. Education, knowing that more exists, those are things that can help propel you into the space that you want to be in. But again, working hard in itself is not what's going to get you there. And I'm tired of this narrative that all you have to do is work hard, just buckle down. Listen, there are so many people in my life that I can name right now that have done that. And it doesn't go anywhere. They're just working hard and working hard and working hard. It's like they're on a hamster wheel. The hamster wheel that's going nowhere. It's like you're working so hard, like on a treadmill. It's like you're running 7 miles and you're literally running in place. It's the same thing. So you have to pay attention to, okay, if all these things are not aligning, there must be something else. There must be something else that I need to look at or that you need to look at. If you're not getting to the things that you want, it can't just be that you're not working hard. If you know that you're working hard and you're doing the things you need to do, you should be moving along and taking action. You should be getting to these things. So it's not just working hard or being excellent. And all you have to do is, because we talked about that, there's more to the story. So what I want to know is if you are in this situation, like if you have worked hard or if you feel like you're constantly going through the motions, constantly trying to get to the next best thing, what do you feel like is holding you back? Is it that you're not taking action? Is it that, you're not willing to play the game? And this is okay because some of us don't want to do that. Some of us don't want to be in positions where we are constantly working so hard and the goal is never coming. We have to start creating opportunities for ourselves. And here's another thing I want to point out. I would not discredit your strengths, your skills, your gifts, and your abilities. A lot of times what we're doing, we are trying to force our round peg into a square hole. We are trying to fit into an environment or to a job or to a role that just doesn't make sense for us. Maybe what needs to happen is you looking at your skills, you looking at the things that you do well, what your strengths are, and really assessing if the job that you're in, if the role that you're in, if the lane that you're in makes sense for where your natural skills, gifts, and abilities lie. Some of you are in jobs right now where you don't need to be in. It doesn't align with your strengths. It doesn't highlight the skills and the gifts that you actually have naturally. So these are things you need to be looking at. because sometimes those jobs aren't meant for you. The way that you shine is by finding a place where your natural gifts and skills fit. So you're not forcing yourself to be something you're not. So you're not having to play a game that you don't want to play. So you're not having to do things that just don't make sense for you to do. Because no matter how hard you work, if the skills for that job don't align with what you naturally can do, it's going to always feel hard. It's going to always feel like you're trying to reach for something that keeps moving. It's going to always feel like a moving target. So sometimes it's that we are in roles and we're doing things that just don't make sense for us. Also, too, let's talk about entrepreneurship. A lot of times people are like, oh, go off and do your own thing, start a business. This is not for the meek or the weak. Starting a business is not for everyone. And you may not want to do that. It may be the thing that you do, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the thing that you do. But I just want you to know that if you're going to do that, all those skills, the tenacity, the focus, the hard work, all those things come into play. But again, none of that really guarantees there are all these other things that have to be in alignment. There are other factors that you need to consider and think about when you are trying to move towards a goal or trying to achieve success. And a lot of this high level of success, these are not things that happen overnight. We believe that because we see someone on a podcast or because we hear about all the things that they've achieved and accomplished, nobody talks about behind the scenes how long it took to get there. This is not an overnight thing. We didn't just work for 2 years and then all of a sudden we got there. No, it is a reiterative process. It is a process that takes time, that takes effort. So no matter what you do, all this like get rich quick scheme stuff, that is not real. All of this, oh, do these 5 steps and then you'll get there. No. When you are in a business, creating a business, building a business, you have to continue to pivot. You have to continue to do things over and over and over and figure out how you're going to shift in order for you to keep up with what's going on. And also, too, you don't have to feel like you have to do it the way that everybody else is doing it. You can decide to do it the way that you want to do it. I just want you to understand and know that just working hard in itself is not the only way. It's not the only thing. That's not the magic ingredient. You have to put in the time, the effort, and the energy, but all of these other things have to be in the mix as well. Okay? So it's just something I want you to think about. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on working hard and all these other components I've talked about that impact your level of success. Do you agree with these factors? Are there any that you think I've missed or that I didn't mention that you want to add? Please let me know. I'd love to know how you feel about working hard and how that has worked for you. Do you feel like that has been your formula for success, or are there other things in the mix? All right, so let me know how you feel about working hard and leave me a comment to let me know your thoughts, and I will talk to you in the next one.